What's up, everybody? I'm Fernando Mastrangelo, and welcome back to Design Discord. Today, I'm here with Laura Young from The Future Perfect. If you don't know the showroom, it's awesome. You should check it out. They've got them in New York, LA, Miami, San Francisco. They're everywhere. Today, we talk about the gallery model. We talk about how they discover designers like Chris Wolston. We get into the idea of culture and commerce and trying to do that balance. And we even get into a little bit of gatekeeping, what it's like to kind of be one of the gatekeepers in the design industry. It's a really great episode. And we have something really fun at the end where Laura tells us what's in and what's out. So listen all the way to the end. And Laura, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, we've known each other for about 10 years.
I think we've known each other longer.
Longer?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my design career started about 2014, right around the time that you started at Future Perfect. But before we get there, I did not know you were a RISD gal.
You didn't?
No, I didn't until I started doing the research. No, we've never talked about that. I mean, it was so long ago. So take me back. You're a 2007 graduate.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
So I studied furniture design at RISD, which is weird, because I don't really think of myself as a maker in any capacity now. But I originally went to RISD to do jewelry. And I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to do jewelry. It's going to be super cool. And then I got there and I was like, I do not want to do this. I have no interest. And I also started to have carpal tunnel problems. And I was like, oh, I can't work at like a tiny scale. Yeah. And I think it was just like a stress thing, to be totally honest, because I don't have carpal tunnel now. It's weird. So I took a sculpture class that winter session because you have to do your foundation at RISD, and they were like, I hated it. Like, I was miserable. Yeah. I kept being like, I could do this in my sleep. Like, I don't have to think. Like, all I have to do is be like, oh, yeah, this is conceptual. And please don't, that's not what I think of the RISD sculpture program. Like, I am such a big advocate for RISD in every single capacity. But I was like, I'm just not learning how to do things well. My father was a general contractor. My grandfather was a woodworker. And I just kind of like turned to the furniture department and was like, will you show me how to do things well? And they were like, yeah, in fact, that's all we'll teach you. And I was like, okay. So I went in and it was like a full like crash course in craft. Like, we learned how, like, the first foundation, you only plain wood, you only cut dovetails, you have to do everything with hand tools for the first 2 semesters. You don't get to touch like a machine. And then you go in and you start using machinery in the 3rd and 4th semester. And then you learn how to weld, and then you learn how to do bending wood, and then you learn how to upholster, and then I learned how to turn on the lathe. I learned how to turn on the metal lathe. Like, all of these skills, I can TIG, I can MIG, like, I can do all of these things. And I came out and I was like, I know how to do it now. Like, I understand how things are made. And then I had to get a job. Do you know what I mean? Totally. And I was like, what is my skill set? Because, like, I really thought I was going to come out of RISD and be like an artist.
I would love to see what you did as your thesis for your show.
Oh, I made costumes.
Oh, you didn't even make furniture?
I did.
Okay.
I made 4 coat racks, and then I made individual costumes that were inspired by like stereotypical storybook characters. And the idea was that you were supposed to put them on and experience others in it. And it was like really funny because at my thesis show, my grandfather was there. And at the time he was like, it's like a 95-year-old paisan, like just totally out of control. And he puts on this, like, there was like a princess costume and she had a unicorn horn. And he puts on the princess costume and the unicorn horn, and he stands there for the entire show. Oh, no. So like, it was like the perfect like juxtaposition of like this old man walking up and being like, "What's your name?"
Were you mortified or were you?
Oh, I was thrilled.
Oh, you were thrilled.
I was like a pig in shit because it was perfect. It was like exactly what I needed it like just because it's like, you know, it's all art school kids like coming through and like putting on the wizard costume and putting on the soldier costume and like acting cool, but they like, he was just like everyone, Nick Masso, and I was like, oh my god, amazing. That's what I did.
And then you started at Areaware. That was the job you got, or what was it right after?
Right after school, I was like, I had this teacher, Peter Dean, and my primary work that I made was all these like huge carved monsters. I made huge wooden monsters that I painted with latex paint, and they were all about psychedelics and an obsession with color. Everything I did was about color and color theory and the digestion of when I experienced psychedelic experiences, which I've never done, Mom, ever. I was always really overwhelmed by color. Like color really like affects me in a lot of ways. And so I had this teacher who was like, I made this piece that was this giant monster, and he was ripping open his stomach and he was vomiting a rainbow bench. And you were supposed to sit on top of the monster and braid someone's hair on the bench. And everything was like super freaky and super weird, and could have very much so, like, if I had discovered myself, I probably would have been like, you can be successful. But instead I was like, this is crap. No one will buy it. You're a loser. But I had
this informs me. This gives me a little more understanding of where your quirkiness.
Oh yeah, I'm a freak. But Peter Dean said to me, like, he was like, you should totally sell this. And I was like, I can totally sell this. And I was like, Dad, I'm moving to Philadelphia. I'm gonna open a furniture studio. I need a bike, a knife, a table saw, and what's the thing that you cut a tree with?
An axe,
a
chainsaw.
I wanted a chainsaw. Yeah, nice. I was like, an electric chainsaw, and he was like, Gus is better. You know, it was like one of those like weird conversations. And then he was like, absolutely not. Your sister got you a job. And I was like, what? And my sister had like cold called auction houses and got me a job at an auction house in New York with me never doing an interview. And so I went and I met with this guy, Arlen Ettinger it was an auction house called Guernsey's. And we had a talk, and he was like, you start on Monday. And I was like, I graduate on Saturday. And he was like, well, then you better pack your shit and move. Wow. And so I like freaked out. I moved in with Charlie from Rich, Brilliant, and Willing, or Charles Brill. He doesn't go by Charlie anymore, but he will always be Charlie to me. And I moved to New York, and I worked at this auction house, and I did graphic design, which I had no idea how to do. So I taught myself the Creative Suite. I partied till 2:00 in the morning every night. I got screamed at every single day. I became a registered auction clerk. I lived in Vegas for 2 months cataloging an auction. I did some of the weirdest, worst shit. The most memorable thing that happened at the auction house is we sold the gun that Jack Ruby killed Lee Harvey Oswald with.
Oh my God. Okay.
And we were bringing it to the Today Show. Okay. My boss said, bring it to the Today Show. And I said, okay. But I was 21 and I didn't know any better. And I took the gun on the subway.
Oh my God.
And I got there and they were like, what did you do to get here? And I was like, I took the subway. And they were like, first of all, you can't take a gun on the subway.
You're supposed to have a gun in New York, by the way, period.
Second of all, we don't bring a $1.2 million gun on the subway. And I was like, oh, well, I'll remember that next time. Anyway, I didn't last. I stayed at that job for a year and I quit. And then that was great. I mean, I still worked for them. I still have a relationship with them. I learned a lot about the Upper East Side, about the wealthy of New York. I learned about collectors. I had like very interesting interactions. I interfaced with the Clintons at that time. Oh, wow. I would gave a tour to Robin Leach. It was
damn,
like
yeah,
a
the
lot of
lifestyles of the rich and famous. Yeah,
Yeah.
that guy. Not a lot of people know him anymore. But
Gloria Steinem was our neighbor.
Oh, wow.
I got to meet her. So these were like, that was
so you're
like,
cutting your teeth a little bit in this.
yeah, I like
yeah.
started to like understand New York. And then I was, of course, partying with, I mean, at that time it was like, and I think that affected me too. Like I would go out with the Olsen twins, you know, I would go out with these people. I'd be at the club in the Lower East Side and they'd be there and it'd be dope.
So were you hanging out with there's a RISD cohort, right, that moves to New York every year, right? So I imagine, were those also in your circle of friends there? Like, were they doing design at the time? Yeah.
Yeah. So at that time, I was like super close with Theo Richardson, Charles Brill, and Alex Williams from Rich, Brilliant, and Willing. They were just starting RBW at that time. They had this show at Kiosk.
Okay.
Which Kiosk was actually, Areaware and Kiosk were both at 95 Spring Street.
Okay.
And yeah, they started talking. And at that time, they were also like, oh, both Alex and Theo were like casually working for Areaware. And they were like, we're going to start our own company, so you should take this girl. And I was like, I'm available. I'd like a job. I could do graphic design.
And carry a gun.
Yeah. And they were like,
wherever.
amazing. And I showed up at Areaware and, I'm not answering your question, but that's how I got my job at Areaware, is they asked me to come help them set up a trade show booth at the New York International Gift Fair. And I stayed all night setting up the booth with them.
Yeah.
I made the catalog for what they were selling while I was sitting there and setting it up with the union guys. And then the next morning at 10 a.m., they were like, can you sell? And I said, I don't know. And I stood and I sold in the booth for them for the entire week. And then at the end of it, they were like, you work here now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, yes.
So is that really where you started to kind of like understand that maybe selling was your thing, or, you know?
It's funny. I still don't think selling is my thing.
Oh my
but
God,
everyone
please. That's
is
all you do,
always
dude.
like,
I mean,
that's all you do.
That's all you do.
Like, that's like, you're such a sales girl.
You are.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, me? I don't sell. Like, but I loved like getting
the deal.
I love the deal.
The deal. You're a deal. Yeah, you're a deal.
It's girl. Like and it's not even that. Like, I just love convincing someone to love what I love. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And at that time, Areaware was what I loved. Like, it was my dream to work there. And then all of a sudden, like, they were like, can you pull it all-nighter? And I was like, I absolutely can. And I did. But yeah, to answer your question about New York, I was hanging out with my RISD peers. I still am. My fiance and I met in the quad at RISD when we were 18. He's like been my best friend forever. And then, we fell in love like 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So then how do you meet David?
Oh. So
because we're talking about the Williamsburg space, right? Is that where you started or?
With David?
Yeah. Or before?
No. Well, so when I started at Areaware, I was a customer of the Future Perfect.
Okay.
Already. Like, I would go to the North 7th location and I would buy shit.
I remember that space.
Like, I would always be like, I have to bring something for somebody. It's going to be $50 and I'm going to go to this cool store, the Future Perfect, and I'm going to buy it. And I did. And then I started Areaware and I was like, who's our number one client? And they were like, oh, easy, David the Future Perfect. And I was like, what? And then I was like, and because I'm a ravenous bitch, I was like, I had to know our number one client. Like, I just had to. So I was like, I'm going to put myself in front of this person. I'm going to tell him who I am. Whenever we have a holiday party, I'm going to invite him. I'm going to ask him to go to dinner. I'm going to ask him to be my friend. And
no, you're not a salesperson.
No,
you're.
I think that like the reality is like, I was like, I have to know who wants what I want. And what it turned out is that we wanted the same thing. and that was what started to be
You and
weird.
David.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, so we were both ended up on so the New York Gift Fair ended up creating a section called, what was it called? It was like the fancy section. It was like the modern design section. It was, I would keep wanting to, it's like, I don't know. But I think it was part of the like transition to being New York Now at that point.
Okay.
But it was like this one section at the beginning of the gift fair, and it wasn't like tchotchkeified. It was more like high design, but it was where like Areaware was, where Kickerland was, where Eastern Accents, like all of those brands, right? And they were like, there's a jury for this. We want someone from Areaware to be on the jury. And David Alhadef's on it as well. And then there was a couple other people. I think one of the buyers for MoMA was on it. Anyway, all these incredible people. But David and I were on the panel who decided who got into this section of the gift fair. And the two of us were like this like force. Like people would be like, what do you think about bringing our tech into the fair? The like people who make the like plastic boxes you like sell weed in. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the colorful ones that like stack inside of each other. And like I would just remember like the entire room being like, no. And David and I both being like, yes, absolutely. If they're not in it, then we're not doing this anymore. Like we would just like unify and be like, and at that time he stopped buying from me. He started being like, listen, like we're trying to like not do this like low end like recession model anymore. Like we're super interested in becoming a gallery. We're going to be a gallery. And I kept being like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? Like accessories are the future. And like I had just spent like 6 years like lobbying for like cash register objects, things that like were under like $15, $50, like what I was always calling like recession purchases or lipstick purchases, right? Because that
things
was
that sell in mass.
That was that time.
Right.
Like and he was like, no, we're going to be a gallery. And I was like, what the fuck? He's going to be a gallery. And he kept like he would send me these like offers across the table. Like I would agree with him on something and he'd like write a number down and hand it back to me, hand it across the table
to get you to work,
and
to
I'd
come
like
work with him?
Open it and I'd close it and be like, no, like absolutely not, dude. Like and I also like David had a reputation, like he wasn't he has this like ravenousness. He's always hungry. And I think people like fear it in a lot of ways. I think that it confuses their perception of him. And ultimately, it like 100% enticed me. I was like, I'm super into this. But when I left Areaware, I ended up I wrote like, when people write an email and they're like, I left my job.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote it and I got almost 35 job offers in response to...
When you just let people know you left?
Yeah, I like wrote an email and
Yeah.
I was really shocked. Like really, really shocked. Like I was like, what is going on? And David, of course, was one of those people that was like, you're mine. And I was kind of like, the way he was communicating, I was like, I'm not. And I got this email from Lindsay Adelman and she was kind of like, I mean, she is and will always be like my girl crush. Like she is the most significant female American designer in the world, Yes. And she wrote me an email saying she wanted to meet with me and would I come see her? And I went and I worked with her I came in as a consultant I think I stayed for 9 months. And
she had a relationship with the Future Perfect. Or when did that start?
Her relationship with the Future Perfect?
Well, yeah, because I mean that's an early.
Well, the first Lindsay Adelman studio was in the back of the Future Perfect when he opened on Great Jones. So her studio was back there. Eventually, she moved over to like it wasn't Christie Street, but it was like by that Whole Foods.
Wait, so when you were going to for the 9 months, the Future Perfect was right in front of it, was right in the...
No, it wasn't. But it was, they had departed at this point,
Okay.
and David was like doing this like gallery transition.
I remember,
and
yeah.
the first gallery show he was doing was also Lindsay's Totem exhibition, which were these like kind of like planetary, crazy, insane stacked totemic pieces. And that was his first gallery exhibition. It was his first art fair that he did. He took him to the Fog Fair in San Francisco for the first fair ever. And then I worked on that project with him while I was with her.
I got you. Okay.
And he did not stop offering me jobs. And I really loved working for Lindsay. It was a really, really special reality. At that time, she was so content. Like, she was so like, this is enough. We don't have to do more. And I was ravenous. And so I was like, where can I go to someone who will never be satisfied? And that was David. And so I transitioned out of working for Lindsay into working for David. And I came on with him full time.
In 2014, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just a hockey stick. I mean, the gallery you guys started doing everything. It felt like you were everywhere instantly. Like every fair, even from ICFF, I remember, even having booths there, like it was like everywhere there was something that the Future Perfect could participate in. You guys were, and I think that that's part of this ravenousness that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that David does not like to say no to things. And I think now we get invited to participate in so much, and we really have to pull back and be like, how does this affect our team? How does this affect our artists? How does this affect our personal wellness? And I think probably post-COVID is the first time was when we started to like actually assess that, because before COVID, we would literally be like, don't breathe, don't eat, don't sleep. We're getting it done. Like It was always about like more, what's the most impossible thing we can do? Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And we did.
Let's talk a little bit about what separates the Future Perfect from other galleries, or because you guys have a large roster.
Yes.
You really mix things between collectible, what I call fine furniture, production studios. You guys have it all. Do you think that that's part of what's kind of created the success of the Future Perfect and its particular business model?
Well, I always say the Future Perfect is a place that represents work that ranges from contemporary production to limited edition and unique works. I think that the majority of those work are either boutique manufacturers, studio created, or artist handmade craft. I think the thing that is definitely the line that draws us differently, and not from everyone. Like, there are people who are following our model a little bit at this point.
Yes, at this point, yeah.
But it is the contemporary production. The contemporary production creates, from my perspective, a pedestal for the unique and limited edition works. One of the things that I think is I always call it residentializing. David hates it when I say this, because I think residentializing is like a bad word.
Is that a word?
I think it's like a no-no.
Okay.
It's like an unwoke thing.
What is residentializing?
I don't actually know.
Okay.
But I bet it has to do with, like, because I think like when you think about like residential schools and all that kind of horrible things that are like in American and Canadian history and all that stuff. But I like basically what I like to take a gallery presentation, so a Lindsay Adelman show full of lighting, and then I like to let it sit for the 6 weeks that it's supposed to live in its purest form. And then after 6 weeks, I like to bring in a sofa, a dining table, some coffee tables, maybe a floor lamp, something that brings it up and down, but also connects these what can be conceptual works to reality. So I always call it the second surge of okay, like I can sell at the front end of the show, and I can sell in the in between, and then I can sell in the after, you know?
Do you think it was because like maybe pushing against the kind of white box gallery idea where you don't really know how you're going to like live with these objects?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think you guys cracked that with the New York space, and it really, I feel like now a lot of people are using that model where they're like, come see how you live with these collectible pieces.
100%.
Right.
Everything is always about like really creating an experience, emerging people into the work. It's what's important to me. I just also think that at the root of it all is like what people are looking for in a gallery now, almost in anything, like is like you want people to walk away and be like, that was an experience, like that was a New York experience, that was an LA experience, you know, like, because otherwise, like, what's the point of being here? It's really hard.
How did the artists, designers react to that kind of concept? Like, I know.
Ooh.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
I know that. I mean,
it is not.
I just wanted to kind of put that out there.
It is not for everyone. And in fact, like we have wrestled with pulling together that white box almost like 1,000 times. Like I flip-flop on this too, because like I'm the person that's on the phone with those artists who are being like, I just want my like pure white box show. And I'm kind of like, you know what? You don't. Like you don't want that. What you want is to be successful. Like you want people to look at you and be like, this is amazing and I'm inspired by you. That's what's important, right? Like, and that's what leads to sales, and that's what leads to conversation, and that's what leads to press. It's not like, I just don't think that this like pure white box is what it used to be.
Yeah.
Like I can put a pure white box in so many places, and I can do so in a very affordable way. But that pure white box might be in completely the wrong location, and it might be a place that a lot of my clients won't be comfortable going to, you know?
In fact, you know, so we've like gotten an appointment to see what the walkthrough is like at the Future Perfect, and it still very much feels like you're being walked through a gallery. You know what I mean? In the sense that it's, because when you're in there, it feels like a showroom, but it feels like a gallery, but it's the gallery experience. But you guys got music playing, so it's got vibe, and then it's like there's this different thing you guys are creating that I think that's what separates it.
It also allows for us to like almost service a large majority of our roster at the same time. Like we get to create like pure exhibition moments, but then we get to like move through space, and there's a little bit of something for everyone, and there's different vignettes, and there's different stories. And
I mean, you guys will like take over a bathroom, take over a little. Yeah, I love that. One thing that always I think about when I think about the Future Perfect, the amount of production that it requires from designers, especially as you guys expand. Is that, how do you guys handle that kind of thing where, you know, you got to outfit 4, you know, major galleries at this point? Also, not getting into a slump where people feel like they're repeating their work and this and that. How do you guys manage that kind of aspect of it for them?
I mean, I think that we talk to them. We move things around. We are flexible. I think that there are artists that cannot produce enough work, and there are artists that can't like stop producing work, you know, that sometimes I'm literally like, whoa, like
too much,
50 pieces, 3 months. Okay. No, you know,
okay.
But at
is
the
that
same
because
time,
you're trying to like keep their market? Are you thinking about their market, or are you thinking about their overexposure, or what was the?
Well, I think overexposure, yes, is like kind of always a problem. Having too much work leads to a lack of scarcity. Scarcity is what leads to urgent purchases, right? If somebody can't recreate what they've made, then you have to buy that one if you love it, because otherwise it's gone, you know?
Right.
So if somebody produces 50 things that, while may all be incredibly unique, but they all have like a through line, like it's harder to show people that like this might not be available tomorrow, you know? So that's typically the thing why I don't want my artists to overproduce. But I think that with the 4 locations, we do a really good job of documenting. We do a really good job of moving things around. We work really hard to make sure that our storytelling carries through no matter where you are. There are a lot of things that get purchased from us that nobody's ever seen in person, you know? My New York team will sell my Los Angeles show, my San Francisco show, and Miami show without even ever like touching the things, you know? It also changes like my perception as a curator. Like at this point, like the way that I'm bringing things in is on such a rapid pace that sometimes exhibitions come in and I'm like, that's the size of what I've been looking at.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, like even though I like drew it, I did a floor plan and I saw it and I worked with my team and I've seen the photos, I'm like, this is so huge, or this is so small, or oh my God, this is so perfect. I love it so much. So yeah, it's interesting. It's so layered, but I don't know if I answered your question.
Well, tell me about some of the relationships that you guys have had for a long time, like Chris Wolston. I mean, he's kind of he's one of the stars of the Future Perfect, I feel like, and also very much in the contemporary collectible market, right?
Yeah.
So tell me how that relationship's come about. And I mean, he's been extremely loyal to you guys and vice versa. I mean,
yeah, Chris is definitely a star and he deserves that. He had his first museum exhibition recently
in Dallas,
the
right?
Dallas Contemporary, which was so fun, so great to be there and to experience Texas and understand the opportunity there. And
so you're gonna be a Future Perfect Dallas soon enough. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
You never know.
We could leave that one.
I could literally say I don't. I have. Yeah. I'm like yes, and then I could be like, and we just opened St. Louis. Okay. You know, like it's always like. But Chris is amazing. He and I have known each other since RISD. He was younger than me. I think I graduated the year he came in. But he always, he's always like, we were friends. And I was like, I don't remember. I have no recollection. But we worked, when I was at Areaware, I talked about Kiosk a little bit earlier. Yeah. But Kiosk was in the front of Areaware when it was on Spring Street before Areaware moved to Williamsburg. And Kiosk was run by Elisa Griffo. And it was this like incredible shop where you would buy objects from all over the world. And she would do these collections and curations that were based off of different countries and cities and whatever. And it would be like something that was made there and specific, like an orange juicer from Florida, you know? And she would do a Florida collection and she would do a Portugal collection. It'd be like lettuce plates and things like that. But it was like, and every single object came with like a beautiful, like typewriter written statement about the piece that was almost written like a poem, and it was her writing. And it came packaged in plastic and everything looked like a gift. And Chris was the receptionist at Kiosk.
Oh, no way.
And I was the weird creative director, graphic designer, artist management person at Areaware behind the styrofoam cooler wall that separated us. And so he and I would like talk, and there was always issues with the air conditioner, and we had these like crazy issues with this. There was like a heroin addict who watched the roof at nighttime, and he would pass out and slump on the toilet, and we'd have to move him so we could go to the bathroom. And it was just like this crazy, like we bonded over this junkie and how, and eventually he was like, Kiosk kind of ended up closing, and he was like, can I come work for Areaware? And we had moved to Williamsburg, and I was like, yeah, come, you'll be my assistant. And he came to Areaware and he worked as my assistant, and he was like, I want to do this thing. It's called a Fulbright scholarship. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but I'm going to help you write it. And like,
it's a big deal.
Yeah. And I know that was like so really crazy. And he applied for a Fulbright and he got it.
Oh, wow.
And he left his job at Areaware to go down to Columbia.
That's what I was going to ask. Columbia, yeah.
And by the time he got back, he never really got back. Chris is still in Columbia. Yeah. He's in Columbia right now. But by the time he was like coming back from his Fulbright was over, he started showing in New York. And he did like a pop-up with Sight Unseen. And I was with David. And I was like, David, we got to go see this guy's stuff. And I put David in front of Chris like 3 times. And David was just kind of like, I love it. I love it. I love this guy. I love it. But I think that at that time we couldn't like wrap our heads around how to package it. And I knew him. I knew David at that point. And I was like, I got to get him into Chris's studio. So we went to this studio visit in the Navy Yard. He was like sharing his face. It was like the funniest studio. It was like one of those, I'll never forget the studio visit because Chris broke almost everything he tried to show us. He was just like fully like, he was like, and I made this light and it's neon, and he like tripped and it like shattered. And then he was like, and I made this aluminum coffee table, and you just like put the top on and then you put the base down, and it like crashes into David's leg. And David was just like, hey man, just like
looks like you need a fabricator to help you.
Let me know when you've got something and like we'll figure this out. And then he went back and he started messing around with the aluminum. And I think it was, again, Monica and Jill gave him this opportunity at Collectible. And
a Collective, maybe.
Collective, yes.
Yes, I remember that
Collective. Year. And he calls me and he was like, I need someone to pay to ship this work. Like, here's some pictures.
Okay.
Do you guys want to like do this with me? And basically, I think this is how it went. I was like, we'll pay to ship it. And we paid to ship the work, and then we took it all into stock, and then we ended up giving him a loan for his first exhibition at the gallery.
Nice. And
that was the start of a lot. Like,
yeah.
And it was like, you know, it was hard. It was a hard, like, we really took, I mean, he had done some work at Patrick Parrish. He had done some work with terracotta there. But it was the aluminum, and when we invested into it and it started to hit, and then we really became this like weird unit. Chris and I are super connected. I talk to him every single day. It's not like he'll call me and wish me Merry Christmas, you know, like we are super, super close. And I think that like in the same way that David and I march next to each other in this way where we're just like, I like this color. And he's like, weird that you like that one because I got this color in my hand. Chris and I are similar. Like, I'll call him and he'll be like, what are you thinking about for this? And I'll be like, well, I was thinking like upholstery, like big, but it should be shaped unusual. And he'll be like,
boom, this is what
drawing.
I'm thinking of those sofa or the couch chairs at Design Miami.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Like always things like I'll always be, well, that's like my like I'll be like I think Royer polar bear chair, but not Royer.
But with some weaving and
let's make it like real weird and let's play.
So you really
push the materials, and then he'll be like, "What do you think about this?" And I'll be like, "That's the wrong color," and he'll be like, "Yeah," and I'll be like, "I love it." That's Chris and I.
Has that become the kind of like foundation for how you think about your relationships with all of your designers now, or with the ones you work with in that way? Is that like?
I think that like when I go back to like when I think about my relationship at RISD, my education and my relationship to how things are made. And like, I love that show, How It's Made. Like I've
Me
watched
too.
pretty much every single fucking episode.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, you remember the fucking crayon factory at the Crayola Crayon Factory video on Mr. Rogers? Like that was the first How It's Made I ever saw. And I was like, what is that?
That's a great show.
It's so amazing. Yeah. And so I was obsessed with manufacturing. I'm obsessed with production. I'm obsessed with how things are made. And I think that is my relationship to my artists. Like they're juicing that lemon for me, you know, like they're literally just like being like, I was thinking I want to make a side table, but I'm super interested in pewter. And I'm like, well, let's talk about that, because let's look at this factory.
Do you think that you
let's
bring,
look at this.
Do you think you kind of bring the sales side of things to the conversations where you're like, listen, you know, these things where artists want to do only what they want to do, and you kind of help?
There's a lot, like from a sales perspective, I have data, right? I have the like, you know, I really love what you're doing, but I don't sell coffee tables that are this size. I sell coffee tables that are this size.
Can you give us that data?
I will say,
can you
like
publish that data
40 by 60 dining table has always done well for me.
40 by 60?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That's funny.
That's why there's like, and at that point I was saying recently, I was like, I gotta chill with telling people to make 40 by 60 ovals because I got a lot of them, you know? But yeah, that's one of the things I can always bring forward. I can also help people edit themselves. But really, I like to be someone who can bounce ideas off of. I like to kind of be in the studio with you. I love to like stare around and just kind of be like, what's that in the corner? And they'll be like, oh, that's this like thing I've been messing with. And I'll be like, well, I don't really see like the potential of that. But if you took some, like a little bit of that and you did this with it, what do you think? And some of my artists are not as like, they don't want me to have the idea for them.
Right.
But a lot of my artists are like, they'll just riff. Like we'll just go back and forth and be like, and then what if? And then what if? And it's like this amazing, that's what gets me going. Like that's what makes me feel almost like a producer, if that makes sense.
Have you ever felt like you're a bit of a gatekeeper in the design industry? Because I mean, if someone gets the opportunity to show at the Future Perfect, right, and you get a solo show and you get help with production and this and that, I mean,
you don't always. That's not
always. I know, but
it was that time. Yes.
But there's a way that, I mean, you guys can put people forward that may end up, you know, having a huge career. And do you think about that when you're selecting people or working with people, that you guys really could form their, in good ways and in bad ways sometimes maybe, you know, if they don't work out commercially?
I think that both David and I walk around not realizing the power we hold, if that makes sense. I hate to be like, we're humble. Because we're obviously not like the most humble. But I see it and I understand how much it means to artists to work with us. I think that it's one of those things that I was talking about Chris when we came into his studio and how he broke a bunch of stuff. I cannot express to you how nervous people are when I walk in the door for a studio visit now. Right. And that is something that I've really become aware of. Like that I'm like, listen, like I live in Bed-Stuy. I take the subway. I take the garbage out at the gallery. I scrub the floor if someone shits on it. Like, I promise you, like, I'm a normal human being, and all I care about is lifting you up and giving you a place to show, you know? And that usually kind of helps, but I do think that, like, I think it's a lot of pressure to do well from our side. Like, I also think that there's like all of these other galleries that they don't necessarily consider the sellability of the work or the customer for the piece when they show it. Like they're really thinking about like the conceptual nature and all of that kind of stuff. And I love it, you know, like And I'm not saying in any capacity that this show is not sellable, but like the Isabel Rower show at Marta Gallery in Los Angeles, like when I saw that show, like I stopped in my tracks. Like I was like, oh my God. And I never actually got to see it in person because I was so busy working on my shit. But like I felt like that show was so beautiful and so interesting and really set a bar, and we used to be that bar. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I keep being like, we have to rise to the occasion. If everyone's going to give us this level of like prestige and I'm going to say honor us by saying we're gatekeepers, I'm like, I have to make sure that we're also doing things that are on a level that make people be like, oh shit, you know? And
I mean, I think you have. I mean, I when looking extensively through your website and what you guys done in LA and in New York and Miami now, it's phenomenal. I mean, the you know, yeah.
I know. It's funny. I think that David is probably our hardest critic, and I am right behind him, just being like, we can do better, we can do more, we can do greater. And I think that it sets a bar for us that leads us. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We do. But yeah, thank you. I do believe that our spaces are so beautiful. I always call them dumps. Like every time someone's like, I love your new Miami space, I'm like, it's fucking disgusting.
Get out of here.
It's a total dump. And then I call the New York gallery a dump, and I call the LA gallery a dump, and it's the kind of...
Is that just to keep it kind of humble, to keep it kind of like...
I think so, because I think sometimes I'm like really shocked. You know, my mom and her partner Harry are going to LA in a couple weeks, and they're going to stay at the guest house in the LA gallery. And my mom keeps being like, will there be shampoo? Will there be towels? And I'll be like, bitch, not only will there be towels,
the finest towels you've
ever... the finest towels your ass has ever touched. Like, you are That's good. Funny. And she's like, I don't understand. Like, you're just my little baby. Like, you're not supposed to have nice things. And I'm like, and I don't, but I do. And it's really amazing. We're very, very, very lucky. But it is one of the things as I said, like, I put a lot of pressure on myself. I put a lot of we're doing for May this year, which we're doing an open call. And
oh, wow.
I know.
I was just going to ask you about how you find your designers, but yeah, maybe talk about
No,
this
we haven't done an open call probably in my history at the Future Perfect. Like, a lot of our designers come from either word of mouth, Instagram, or us like happening upon them. Like, it used to be like we would go to places like Sight Unseen and we'd like talk to people, we'd form relationships, we'd go to their studio, we'd be like, oh, like, you should be doing this instead. Have you ever considered making a mirror? Have you ever considered making this? And that kind of led to like a next step, and we'll try this and we'll do that and we'll find success and we'll move forward and we'll do more. And then eventually it started being Instagram. In some ways it still is Instagram. And like, I'm still sliding into people's DMs like at least once a month and being like, hey, what's up? Do you know who I am?
Yeah.
And I always think it's so funny when people have no clue, because I'm like, when I talk about Gatekeeper, I'm always like, you don't know who I am.
Are they very young designers where like they're or
sometimes it's like I'll reach out to, like, I am really into an old head. Like, I'm that girl who has always loved like a 70-year-old man who like makes ceramics on his lobster boat. Like, I'm like, yes, hello. Like, I see that your granddaughter is running an Instagram for you. So that's definitely how. But yeah, for May, we're doing an open call. It's super strange. It's a huge opportunity.
There's going to be thousands of
I hope so.
And what is the idea to...
Well, we partnered with Chris Held and Charles Constantine from
Dud House.
He
was on the pod.
Yeah. And I said to them, like, they do that Donald Dud show every single year. And last year I was like, because Chen and Kai were helping them curate it. And, you know, I love Chen.
The one at Shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you guys doing? I was like, bring me in. Like, I was like, tap me in.
Yeah.
I want to do this. And they were kind of like, are you serious? And I was like, I want to do this. And then they reached out and they were like, they reached out like a month ago and were like, do you really want to do this? And I was like, hell yeah, I want to do it. Not only do I want to do it, you're going to do it at the Future Perfect. And here's how we're going to do it. And then I was like, and I want it to be a nightlight show. And they were like, that's not how we do it. And I was like, oh, well, I want it to be a nightlight show. And they were like,
I love the graphic that Chris came up with.
Oh, they're so good.
He's so good at that. Yeah.
I like love that it says, it's like they refer to themselves as like a punk design collective. And then they have a cool hat too. It's like the Radical Design Collective from Philadelphia. I just, it makes me feel like I still got it. And I'm a little embarrassed by how much I'm like, my coworker Karen keeps being like, you have to stop acting like this is the coolest thing you've ever done, because you're like really.
No, it's gonna be fun. That's cool. So there'll probably be like, ton of submissions, but it'll be a large group exhibition.
Yeah, I reached out to some like big names too. You should definitely make a nightlight.
You want me to make a nightlight for you guys?
Yeah, if you will, I would love it.
All right,
but
that'd be hilarious. Yeah.
I am Beth and Laura Wood's making a nightlight. Okay. I'm hoping Martino Gamper is gonna make one. Obviously Chris Wolston's making one.
Okay.
Sean and Kai are making one.
Right.
But
my hat in the ring.
my posse of talent is coming in. So I'm excited.
You once said in an interview that you want a pack of dogs, a house you love, and you want to be iconic. And I kind of wanted to see where you are in your journey of getting those goals.
It's truly those are actually my dreams. I would definitely, I think you're giving me an opportunity to be one step closer to iconic. So that's good. I have one dog. His name is Rigatoni. He is
famous Rigatoni.
Yes. He's going to be 1 year old on April 1st.
Yeah.
But he's dope. I've never had a poodle before. And he's my poodle.
We thought you might bring him today.
I would love to have brought him. He's getting groomed, so
okay.
He's got to get his spring cut. I spend way too much money on haircuts for my dog. But my partner and I have been looking at houses for the past year. I think it's like, if you think I put pressure on myself in regards to my job, you should see the level of hell I don't think I'll be able to buy a house. I think I'm going to rent one. Just keep being like, I'm like, it has to be like a masterpiece. It has to be amazing. And then the renovation I have to do to it is going to be even better. And then it's just like,
have to put all the Future Perfect furniture
and
in
I think like all my partner wants is to be able to like skateboard from one side to the other. And I'm like, no. He's like, this is where I'm going to put my drum set. And I'm like, what?
That's not happening.
Yeah. But no, he will have a place for his drum set. Like, I think music is also something that I really care about and love. And I really love the idea of us being this like Partridge Family type love relationship. But yeah, I've got one dog. I look at houses every weekend, and I don't know if I'm iconic, but I think
you're getting there.
I'm getting there.
And one other thing that you said that I wanted to ask about was, you think of the Future Perfect as a culture institution, or you've wanted to think of it that way. What does that mean for you guys, and what does it mean for the future of the Future Perfect?
Is that what it says in our bio? It says we're a cultural institution.
It also remarks that you specifically wanted to make sure that it,
Yeah, I wrote that.
You wrote that. You're like, I don't know, man.
It's so funny. I don't.
Because I wonder, I guess the reason I wonder is because, like, maybe museums are not really doing the job to like really bolstering the design industry in the way that you guys perhaps can through your commerce and cultural kind of.
No, I mean, I think for me, I just want people to walk away from an experience with our spaces, with our artists, with me, with David, in any context. If we're at somebody's house and I come in, like, I want it to be memorable. I want it to be something that people think back to. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, the things that you Rolodex and you're like, I'm just never going to forget that. You know, when I was 16, I saw an exhibition at the ICA with the Space 1026 crew. I never forgot it. It was the most memorable exhibition of my entire life. And I put it in my Rolodex and I think about it on a regular basis, you know, like I think about how I think Barry McGee was in that show, and I think about Rolodex next step was like Barry McGee's show at the Hole, and then I think about how he just did that crazy pop-up at the 99 Cent Plus with the Hole and Jeffrey Deitch in Los Angeles, and people were literally tagging the walls outside, and I was like, boom, Rolodex. Like, I will never forget. Like, I didn't even go into the opening because it was that chaotic, but I sat outside in my car like a creep watching people literally tag the windows and like trying to get in because it was like such a happening. And I think that like that's what I want when people come into the Future Perfect. I want them to be like, this is an experience that I will never forget. This is something that I'm going to walk away and I'm going to tell my mom about it and I'm going to tell my friends about it. It's like, you know, like when you go to when something hits, you know, like you have the best meal and you just can't wait to tell somebody. Like, that's what I want the Future Perfect to do.
That's awesome. I think you've done that.
Thank you.
So, congrats.
I hope so.
All right. Now I've got a fun thing that I want to try with you. It's called In or Out. And I got a little list of some things. And all you got to do is say if they're in or if they're out. Since you're at the helm of a big gallery and
oh my God, I can't wait to hear what my peers have said in comparison. Now I have to
No, like, this is just for you. I came up with this just for you because I was like,
great,
Laura will be perfect for this. All right, so in or out? Marble.
Medium.
Okay. Wood.
In.
Glass.
In.
Paper.
In.
Ceramics.
Out. Whoa,
that's a big one.
I know, but I don't mean it like that.
I know what you mean though. There's almost too much of it right now.
It's too much. There's too much. I still think there are people that are doing ceramics that you're just like,
well, those are the ones that blow you away, but then everyone kind of
and they should. And I don't want those people to stop. And I'm not saying that anybody do.
Those beautiful with the bird, with the owls. Oh, I love those pieces.
MJ Kim, Jane Yang Dehane, Floris Wubin, Barry Zipperstein. Like these are like ceramic art. Even Chris Wolston does insane ceramic shit. You know, like it's the best. So the ones that are good are good.
I know what you mean though, but that's why I wanted to ask you because I'm like, there's a lot of it right now.
I go into these like I was nervous you were going to reference my like thing about waste and ceramics because I love to talk about waste and ceramics. I don't know about that.
I didn't read about that.
Yeah.
All right. What about resin?
Resin is hard. It's an application thing, you know, like
a lot of cast resin pieces, lots.
Out.
Polished metals.
I'm more into like a pewter or like a brushed
like a
finish.
Brushed metal.
Yeah, I'm like a brushed. And I like silver metals now.
Yeah.
That's really, is that on there? That I'm skipping.
Wabi sabi.
In.
Minimalism.
Out.
Maximalism.
In.
Instagram.
Out.
Neutral tones.
Always in.
Always in? When are those going to go? Wallpaper. Not the magazine, but this. Yeah. In, right? Okay. Florals.
So in.
Boucle.
But like in like a florals in like a craftsman style, like it's just, or yes.
It's back.
Florals. But it's very specific. And florals are always in, I think.
Always in,
Florals are always in, but it is always a very specific, you know? What was the next one?
Boucle.
Out.
Thank you. Rattan.
it's an application thing. It's like, I would say it's in the maybes. Like I would be like, if you're Chris Wolston, you're the king of rattan, you know, like you can't stop.
Right.
But when I see like, and I'm like a rattan lampshade on a vintage light, yes. But then I take rattan, I'm like a rattan monkey shaped table that like, no, you know.
Velvet.
I think if we don't have boucle, we have to have velvet.
Yeah.
But it has to be like a thick, perfect mohair. It can't mar, and it has to be the perfect color, because it's very easy to go with the wrong color with velvet.
Leather.
In.
Organic shapes.
That is really hard.
Hard.
Because I would maybe say out.
Yeah.
I would say like
it might have its, it might have, you know, it's had its time.
We're just like very in a Craftsman era.
Yeah.
Where like we're like, it was like, and like things are like more decorative and things like that, and it's like more about like whimsy and decoration, and I almost am like rectangles are back. Like I love a rectangle again.
It's because we saw so much organic stuff for so long. Oversized furniture, I think you're gonna say.
I can't tell you that. I
That's
actually
in, I think.
Well,
I don't know. It might be getting out. I
don't know. I think it's like, I actually hate oversized
You
furniture,
do?
but I like love it at the same time. I think it really depends on the application.
Yeah. Antiques.
In.
Always in. Venetian plaster.
In.
It's still in.
Of course.
I know. It's good. All right. And we got white box galleries.
Out.
And I put this just for fun. The future perfect.
In.
Laura, thanks. This was fun.
Thank you so much. I loved my first podcast.
This is I'm so honored that you would do this the first time. Yeah.
Oh my God, this was so cool.
All right.
I loved your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me on another episode of Design Discord. You know the routine. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, mostly the subscribe button. That's the one that really helps. And if you like the episode, share it with a friend. It really helps. We're really trying to grow this, and so I really appreciate it. Anyway, catch you on the next one. Thank you again. Love you guys. See you later. Bye-bye.